Hello, everyone. Hey, not all hair loss is the same. Not the same, guys. Each has its own particular characteristics and features. So you definitely want to pay attention to this show, guys, because this might be you. With that and more here, ladies and gentlemen, the Hair Wire. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Hair Wire, the place where you, my friends, get hair smart. I'm your host, Sergio Calderon, alongside with the sound lip sync, Carrie Jared. Guys, how you doing?
Good. Yes. I'm so happy to be back. Yes, I'm so happy to be back. I was teaching in Dubai and things went south. We got all sick. And
that can happen to just about every one of us. I mean, you go to travel and you get sick while you're traveling. I mean, that's bad. I hate when that happens.
I know, like very weird virus, jet lag, just too many things. And today this is the first day that I feel semi-normal.
Oh, at least it's good to have you back. This is good to have you back. Carrie, how are things over there in Canada with all the tariffs and things going on? It's getting crazy right now.
Well, the tariffs aren't really in effect as far as I know right now, but I know, I don't know. Nothing makes sense anymore.
What are people saying in the streets? What are people saying?
We're gonna boycott American products. I saw a video.
I think the biggest one, I don't know if it's just my circle of friends, but I see clients all the time. I think the biggest thing is a lot of the feminist rights is a big topic on how women, like the women's rights one. That's the one everybody's talking about the most, but I don't know if it's just because that's my circle or the people I talk around. But I don't know.
I saw a video of people taking the Jack Daniels off the supermarket shelves.
That's a huge one too. But then the owner of it said something like, I heard the majority of his sales are from Canada. We like our bourbon. I'm a bourbon drinker. I like my Jack and Coke and my ginger and Coke pressed. Like, I love my bourbon, Jack and Double Jack. But the CEO made a comment to Canadians and is going around, and now a lot of us are switching brands. We're like, you know what? You're going to say that about us when we've been your loyal customers for years. I used to wear a Jack Daniels t-shirt when I turned 18. 18 is the drinking age, by the way, here. I grew up drinking 34 at the end of the month. And I always wore Jack Daniels. And now I'm like, after that comment, I don't even want to buy it anymore. So and we went to the liquor store. I hosted my triplet friend's birthday this weekend, and I went to go get Jack, and my girlfriend texted me all night. She's like, don't get us Jack. I'm like, oh, okay, sure.
I'd say this, guys, if you like it, buy it. I mean, this is your brand, whatever. I don't care what companies do.
But you have to understand, Canadians are very loyal. They're very loyal. They're very ethical. And if you're going to say something discriminatory or ignorant, that's when we get our knickers in a knot, because we're like, you know what? Ignorance is probably one of those things that you find a lot of Canadians will twitch and be like, did that just happen? And you will be discredited really quick, and it's hard to gain our trust again. So I don't know. I find a lot of Canadians pride themselves in accountability, integrity, and authenticity. So as soon as you break that trust, you're screwed. So, and I don't know, Jack Daniels saying that about Canadians when we're the biggest market share for them. I don't know. We're drinkers. We like to drink. So,
and it's always cold over there. So drinking will make it better, right?
Oh yeah, everybody has a pop, like a road pop on the road when we're tobogganing and everything. Yeah.
Hey. Those are the things happening right now around the world, guys, and that is why a lot of people are losing their hairs. They're losing their minds, they're losing their hairs, and then some. So we're kind of talking about today, guys, about different types of alopecias, because unfortunately, a lot of people, they like to say, "Oh, I have alopecia." Well, which kind? Which one? Because not all alopecias are the same. Now, Carrie, You were the one who came up with the subject. Now, walk us. Why is it important for people to know that there are different types of alopecia?
Because not all treatments are the same. Not all needs are the same. And the root cause is not all the same. So you don't want to treat something you don't have and cause other issues. It's critical. And plus, you also don't want to waste all that money, especially if it's a simple fix. We are humans. We make things so complicated. And then it's something as so simple as changing your diet or drinking more water, a little bit of exercise. And they want to throw everything in the sink. Like I have one client right now where, as you know, we were back and forth with them, and they went to a company, and they were told they had something they didn't at all, like completely different. And they're like, oh, it's going to be $5,000 a year. I'm like, tea tree oil, that's all you need. You'll be good. Like, let's fix this. Let's keep bacteria. Yeah, it's, you don't want to, it causes more stress financially. It causes stress on mental health. It causes stress, Yeah, so I messaged you guys that because I'm like, let's get back to this, you guys. Let's get back to the roots, the fundamentals of trichology, and educate people that there's more than one type of alopecia. And you may, in fact, may not even have alopecia. It may be a nutritional factor for hair loss. It could be, postpartum, any of that. So I would like to talk about that. So
definitely. Now, Bess, I want to ask you, to our viewers, to the benefit of our viewers, because this is a teaching show. So we're here to promote education. So what is the difference between losing hair and shedding hair? Because that's where there's a lot of complication here. A lot of people believe that because they are experiencing one, they rapidly come across to the conclusion that they are experiencing alopecia. Now, is it shedding hair a type of alopecia, or what's the deal here?
Yeah, so basically when we have hair shedding is kind of normal of the hair cycle. Our hair cycle goes through phases: the growth phase, which is the anagen phase in trichology, the telogen phase, and the catagen phase. That's a normal cycle. Actually, it's 7 phases, but these are the main 3 ones. So in all our, at any point in time, all the hair is going through all the cycles. So some of the hairs are growing, some of the hairs are staying put, and some of them are shedding. And that is what shedding in trichology means. You're not losing your hair per se. It's just a part of a normal hair cycle. Now, and also part of the normal hair cycle, it goes up and down depending on the season, depending on because sometimes in seasons, especially if we live in like Kenny in Canada, at winter time, there is not a lot of fruits and vegetables that are available for them. So this slight changes in seasons, and slight changes in diet, slight changes in all of this, like no sunlight, for example, when they are in winter time, we're talking about still hair shedding. It will exaggerate the hair shedding to a little bit more than normal. So for example, if a person has let us say 100,000 hairs in their head, that is the average person. Maybe my thickness will be 100,000. Maybe Kerry's thickness will be 150. Maybe Sergio will be maybe 75. See what I'm saying? It depends on everybody. So on average, if you lose 100 hairs a day, that's a lot of hair, by the way. That's kind of scary to see, but out of the 100,000, if you see 100, that's part of the normal shedding. And everybody's shed differently. Some people 100 is normal, some people 50 is normal. So what is your normal, during your lifespan? Take that, and if you keep seeing it normally, if it goes up 20 hairs, goes back 20 hairs, that's the normal variation of shedding. That's the normal variation of seasonal shedding, all of that. Now we're still talking about shedding. That is not alopecia. Alopecia, the term alopecia in science means hair loss. And hair loss is actually the disturbance of the hair cycle. Means the hair cycle is not functioning as it should be. Your hair cycle should shed 100 hairs a day. Now, if your hair cycle is shedding 200 hairs a day, we are going now to a hair loss problem. Now, the hair loss problem could be many factors, right? Could be multifactorial too, not only one factor. Could be as simple as nutrient deficiencies, could be at hormonal imbalances, stress, anything that happens to a person, or it could be genetics, or it could be genetics that got triggered by a stressful event, or it should be that genetic it got triggered by a surgery you went through, or a poor diet, or a crash diet, and all of this. So that we're going to category is called hair loss, where hair loss, you lose this hair and it does not come back without treatment. Now, hair shed comes back with the next hair cycle. Yes. Hair loss does not come back without an intervention of a trichologist to find the root cause of that hair loss, apply treatments to that particular hair loss, so it will reverse itself or recorrect itself in 4 to 6 months. That has totally different than hair shedding that can be corrected, or like, for example, seasonal shedding, you will shed in the winter, then after the winter is over, everything goes back to normal. That's, we are talking about shedding right here. That will correct itself by itself when the trigger goes away. Hair loss needs a trichologist intervention to find one root cause or many root causes, address them, and balance your hair in a way.
Definitely. Now, Carrie, I want to ask you, because again, we see a lot of people, we go crazy whenever we're shedding lots of hair, because we start to believe then I'm experiencing a type of alopecia. Maybe something is happening because the shedding amount that I'm getting, it's way above what I believe it is normal. And I use I believe because for some reason we start shedding a little bit of extra hair, and maybe we didn't pay close attention before. Maybe that's normal to me. But now all of a sudden I'm freaking out because I'm thinking, I'm losing hair tremendously. Now, why it is so important for, for people to, first of all, not to freak out and to do what they can in terms of going to the right professional to get evaluated, to investigate, to actually know what it is that is happening to them. Because unfortunately, a lot of people, we trust, nowadays, we trust a lot to social media. We trust our groups. We trust our the people we follow. And unfortunately, we don't go to see a doctor or a trichologist. What's going on with that?
Yeah. I also find too, we consider just because you have an accreditation, we put too much emphasis on specific industries knowing everything. Like just because you have a master's or PhD, we're all human. We don't know everything. We can't know everything. And when you have somebody who has dedicated their life to a specialty or knows what they're studying, that's who you want to look for too. I find like even not all doctors can know every single trichology. That's why there's specialties. There's ones in heart, there's brain, everything. And so for them to even know all of the trichological terms too, and we put so much emphasis on being like, well, they have a PhD, they know more than everybody else, but that's not always the case. So what you're also wanting to make sure, just because you're seeing a professional, you want to make sure they're well educated in the specific topic you're looking for too. So for example, trichology, especially the level of trichology that we're in, we've taken a minimum of 2 years on top of other designations in specifically trichology. And so when you're talking to somebody who understands trichology and the different hair factors, that's something you ought to consider too, because I even see people like, oh, they work at this specific organization that's notoriously known because they have a really good marketing campaign. They're so invested in them and ready to spend $5,000 with them. And I'm like, but they took a 2-week online workshop, do they really know what they're talking about? Like, so really do your research. And it hurts because like this one client I was at my son's activity the other day because she was ready to push the button and spend $5,000. I called in the middle of my time with my son at his activity to say, no, stop. Don't. This is not what you have, because I know in my bones what she has, because I dedicated my life to the study. And so it's really knowing who you're going to, and just because they have a title or work for a certain organization doesn't mean they know everything. And computers with technology that has gone to, I find a lot of this stuff they're getting from even the dermoscopes that people are using, like the old school ones. They have stuff that's not even lined up with the new research now, like seeing miniaturization right away. They're like, oh, they have genetic hair loss. I'm like, no, we're seeing miniaturization and Telogen effluvium as well. So, but as trichologists, we're scientists. We're always researching, and we're also doing our own research papers as well. So yeah, I'm very passionate about it. As you can see, apparently it's a hot topic for me this last week. So
no, definitely. I mean, nowadays everyone can get a scope. I mean, you can get them as cheap as $5 sometimes, you know, and they'll be great. You know, you can look around your scalp, you can look around just small things. But the problem is that we certainly see things differently. We as trichologists, we see, for instance, scope pictures as just a piece of the puzzle. It is just a piece. It's not the whole thing. You know, I cannot make a diagnosis based only on pictures of a scope, because first of all, you need to understand, where am I looking at? Where in the scalp positioning? So depending on the area, depending on the type of hair loss that we may be experiencing, is where I want to pay maybe closer attention to. For instance, if I'm experiencing a androgenetic alopecia, which normally expresses in the top of the hair, then why am I looking at the back of the hair? You know, other than just to compare from other sides of the scalp. If I'm looking at the back of my head, you know, I'm not going to get too much information out of it from a scope. So, and unfortunately, nowadays we see scopes with AI programming, right?
Yeah.
And they're fantastic, right? But the problem is that unfortunately, this AI programs has been programmed to basically see a particular pattern. And for instance, I have a lot of trouble with using a scope to determine miniaturization. I know we mentioned this plenty of times before in the show, but the thing is that whenever we look at hairs and follicles that are producing thinner hairs, we have been trained in the past that, you know, rapidly, that's a sign of miniaturization. When in fact nowadays we understand that it isn't. You know, you may have a thinner, shorter hair, and it may be that follicle still is deep, but it's just producing a thinner, shorter version. Now, if you're looking at, for instance, someone who recently experienced a shedding event, and they start looking right away on their with their scope, they will start seeing new short hairs. But why? Because they are being replaced. As you shed, new hair starts to emerge. So they're being replaced. And just because they're being replaced right away, I'm thinking about, oh my gosh, I have alopecia. Guys, it could be just the new growth, right? So in order to understand miniaturization through a scope, I need a time lapse, you know, where I'm observing that patient over time, and I am able to determine whether it is truly miniaturization or not with a scope. Now, if I do not have a scope, then I need either a biopsy, which unfortunately is not the most accurate kind of test to determine miniaturization, or I could have a polarized microscopy trichogram, so to determine the length of the follicle. And now I have a piece of information that can accurately tell me, you know, whether someone's experiencing androgenetic alopecia or not because of the miniaturization process. So these are the type of things that, you know, the general public need to understand, because unfortunately we are being misled to believe something. And unfortunately, the moment I start believing in something, that's when I get freaked out. And we see this a lot of times, you know, people rapidly, they start, you know, thinking, you know, I have this, I have that. Why do I do? And that's where the trouble becomes, because unfortunately, as Carrie was mentioning, then you're going to be start treating the wrong type of hair loss. And you're going to be using treatment. Yes, Biz.
I'm saying, and that's the worst. Treating the wrong type of alopecia is the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, you see this all the time. People who experiencing, for instance, Telogen Effluvium, and they start using minoxidil. I mean, if you do not have androgenetic alopecia or a problem with circulation on your scalp, minoxidil is not going to work for you. No. It's as simple as that. And a lot of people they rapidly say, "Oh, minoxidil helped me tremendously with my Telogen and Effluvium." Hey, good for you if it helped. Good for you if it happened to you. But unfortunately, there's a lot of placebo effect on it because I'm putting my beliefs into a product that has been marketed for what, over 50 years. Certainly since the 80s has been around, the topical solution of minoxidil. So yes, we're talking about 40 years plus the
1979 is when it got approved.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when it got approved. So we have been studying minoxidil for way longer before that.
Yeah.
So since 79 has been approved. So yeah, it's been a while. So again, it's been marketed to us as the solution. And I love minoxidil, but it is not the solution. I mean, backstage, we were talking about the same thing with natural products. People like to push natural products, supplements. Can you give us a little bit of the experience, guys? Because
well, first off, to be clear, I'm food first. I feel there's more value in eating food first, and just because, well, Basan could go further into this with the supplements. You have more control over it, and you can listen to your body. And I find with supplements, and Basan, I know we've talked about this before, is a lot of times people will go to a nutritionist, a naturopath, dietitian, and then they'll be told to have the supplement, and they'll have it for a long time and not check in. And you should be checking in at least every 3 months, and because sometimes you only use that supplement just to balance out the chemistry of the body, and then you don't need it thereafter. So it's a fine line. With supplements, there's a place for it. And like, even with my clients, I'm always food first and recommend food, but there is a place for supplements. Of course, like Canada, we don't get as much vitamin D, or, we don't get enough fatty acids. So there is a place, but if there's a way that you could get it food first, yeah, Basan, you take over.
Yes. I like it targeted supplementation. Like to call it targeted supplementation because
it is targeted. It should be targeted.
It should be, exactly. Thank you. Unfortunately, like, of course, we always say food first, right? And we should also focus on our diet 100%. However, unfortunately, as we said before, that our food supply is not 100% nutrient dense anymore. It's just because of the shipping process or the freezing process or whatever process it goes to. I mean, if I would love to have a farm and grow my vegetables myself and eat them, then I will never need any supplementations because, I'm eating the proper protein from my cows or, that eggs from my chickens, and that is a dream will come true one day, hopefully. And then you
know we have an egg crisis across the state, so
I know.
I still don't get that.
We don't even have eggs. You go to the shelves, there is no eggs in the shelves.
That is so bizarre because here in Canada, like, it's common for us to have chickens. Like, it's normal. You'll be walking the street and you'll hear chickens because a lot of people grow chickens, and we have our chickens in the store, but I could go to the local farmer and get eggs. And I don't know. I think it's funny how, yeah.
It is funny. Now, like, when people are dealing with eggs like they're dealing with drugs. Give me 4 eggs and I'll give you 12 eggs.
I don't understand. And I have to tell you something fun. So my grandpa is Emery Kitchen. He's the one that did a lot of the ethical exchange of chickens and poultry in Canada and the United States. So he's well known in Manitoba for chicken. So we have chicken memorabilia all over the house from my grandpa. And so I know about raising chickens and chicks. Like, we used to have them around the house, like bring them in. Like, I don't live on a farm. I live in a suburb. And we chicken stuff.
It's crazy. Yes, it's crazy. Yes, we are the most powerful, richest country in the world. And yes, we don't have eggs. And at one point, we didn't have formula for kids, even though in war zones, formula will be available. But that will actually reflect exactly what I'm trying to say. It's the food industry has been capitalized on, in a way, industrialized way too much, in a way that our food has lost its nutrients. Our soil has been depleted from its nutrients, that therefore it will give us like a really not nutrient dense healthy crops, unfortunately. And with all that, especially if people, not everybody can afford organic. Hopefully what organic means organic, we don't know to how many, what extent it is actually organic. But in a way, for a lot of people can't afford organic lettuce or organic spinach or all of that they all sprays with pesticides and herbicides. So I don't want to make it too black in a way, but it is actually, if you want to think about the food industry, and you will get so depressed. But let's keep the hope. Let's keep the hope in a way that we can afford the best quality you can afford for your family. You do just your best. And that will give me to the next point. The next point is taking supplementation randomly is really actually as bad as eating processed food, because don't forget, supplements are processed. You don't find vitamin D3 in a tree, right? It is processed food.
Yeah.
So that's why also just taking supplementation because you saw an influencer on Instagram, oh, I take vitamin D3 every day. Especially vitamin D3 is a fat soluble vitamin. If you overdose on it, actually it will hurt you. Especially now the crisis with the measles that we have in the United States. Everybody's like, oh, I don't want to vaccine my kid, but I'm going to take, we're not talking about vaccines, but I'm saying the people who are, let's do that next time. But I'm not talking about the vaccine itself, but the people who did not vaccine their kids, they're saying, oh, when you got measles, just give them high doses of vitamin A. Do you know how toxic vitamin A it is if it gets into high doses, especially on kids? It's really, really, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying you test first, you see how much the vitamin A level in your kid, and then you give them accordingly, right? Because vitamin A, vitamin D, and what else? The vitamin K, they are fat soluble vitamins. In any case, let's go back to supplementation. So targeted supplementations is very important. Do not take any biotin, for example. Remember biotin grays? Oh, everybody's taking biotin for hair loss. Biotin B7 is available in every single food item you eat. So nobody is actually deficient in vitamin and biotin, which is B7. So let me go back to my actual point. My actual point, do not take supplementations randomly. Do your blood test first. Measure exactly what is your vitamin D levels, what's your vitamin B12 are. See what do you need. If you have a thyroid conversion problem, you need a B complex. If you have high cholesterol, you need an omega-3. If you have low vitamin D, then it will contribute to your hair loss. Vitamin B12, it will contribute to your low energy. Understand your body, understand what do you need, and target exactly how much do you need per day, and then retest in 6 months along with a good diet. That is, for example, if you're deficient in fatty acids, eat more fatty fish. That's along the way. But retest in 6 months and see where you at. So some people, they will improve in 6 months, and you will bring your vitamin D level to 70, for example, because for us trichologists, we need it to be 70 to regrow your hair, even though if at 50, it's normal, means you're fine, but it cannot regrow your hair. So we need it to be 70. So now test, is your vitamin D at 70? Great. Then you stop. Like if you were taking 5,000 IUs per day, you go back to 2,000 IU per day if you do not go in the sun every day or in wintertime. See, there's a lot of factors you have to understand why you are taking your vitamin D. So if you got your level to 70 and you are in Florida in the sun, you stop. But if you are in Canada in the winter, then you take the maintenance dosage, which is 2,000 IUs. So in a point that try to understand why you are taking whatever you are taking. And don't forget, these supplements that are processed, they are processed through your liver. So you are taxing your liver if you are overdoing it. This is one part of it. The second part of it, if it's 6 months, your levels are not at the optimum level, there means two things. The supplementation you're taking are not a good brand, means they're not absorbable, they're not bioavailable. The second one means you have a gut problem, means that your gut is not actually absorbing wherever you're taking. Then you have to also address these issues. So going back or sum it up, first you start with as clean as diet as possible as you can afford. And the second one is target the supplementation depending on your blood tests and and retest in 6 months to see where you at.
Definitely. Now, okay, looks like Carrie is.
Oh, she said she will be right back.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let me. Okay. So let's go to some types of alopecias and forms of hair loss, and let's see how we can manage those. Now, I want to read a comment that our friend Dr. Martina Candido sent to us through Instagram. She says, the first big problem with hair loss is misdiagnosis, and I truly believe that. And then she says, and then therapies can be option. All over the world, this is the main problem. Know how to proceed. Definitely. And she says, always interested in listening to you guys. Thank you, Martina.
Thank you
Hey,
so much.
The thing is, understanding what it is or what isn't. Sometimes it is easier to just spot what it is not. Okay.
Right.
So if, for instance, whenever we are looking at different types of hair loss, we are looking, for instance, first of all, patterns, as in where in the scalp it is happening. Is it just a spot in just one place? Is it symmetrical to the other side of the head? Or am I seeing a big area, for instance, the frontal section in the middle of the scalp? This is going on the vertex. Is it happening on the occipital region? Is it just happening here in the temples? Where is it happening? So those are the main things that I want to look at. And for instance, a lot of people, unfortunately, they're unable to see for their scalp. So they need to rely on mirrors, or that someone else allows you to see what's happening. So the first thing that I would do, if I'm suspecting of hair loss, I want to go to my hairstylist. Am I losing my hair? Do you see areas in my scalp where there is less hair?
Right.
Because it is always best to have another set of eyes looking at my scalp rather than just trusting in my own. Because unfortunately, my own judgment can be mislead.
And we are the worst critical of ourselves.
Oh, yeah. And of course, our bias, because we are biased to believe what I have just been told. I mean, I just learned about alopecia areata, and all I'm looking at signs of alopecia areata on my scalp. And sometimes, even with, let me explain, even with conditions like Telogen and Effluvium, you may see some spots on your scalp and not necessarily experience alopecia areata, because there's specific symptoms related to it. So understanding that the differences between one type of hair loss and the other is very complicated, guys. It is not something for the general public to be understand about. And it's perfectly fine, because I mean, you can get information online and you can educate yourself, which is the best that you could do. Try to get an education, but understand where your education is coming from, and understand that because you just read an article does not make you an expert.
That's true.
For us, it has been years of studying. I mean, I've been a certified trichologist for over 27 years now, and still I do not know it all. So, being the large career that I had in this industry, does not make me the top leading expert in every form of hair loss, because I'm not. I like to round myself with the experts. So I can help my people. That's why I stick with Bisan. That's why I stick with Carrie. They are experts in particular areas, and I like to grow with them and learn from them. All right.
Yes,
and
we all learn from each other.
Exactly. And that's what we do here in the industry. So understanding what it is that is happening is crucial before you start doing any type of treatment, before you start considering anything in particular. Now, as we were starting to mention, and now we're going to be showing the different types of hair loss, of course. But I want to make sure that you, my people, you, the audience, understand, living well, doing a good routine with food and exercise goes a long way. Okay.
Yeah.
start popping pills. No, that's not the way to go. Okay, so before you start popping pills, before you start putting things on your scalp and your hair, um, just consult with an expert. Okay, start with maybe your hairstylist. Your hairstylist knows a little bit more than you do. All right, it's not a trichology expert, but at least someone who could guide you a little bit into the realm of the things that you could possibly start doing. Also, you can start go to your doctor if it's available to you. Maybe your doctor, again, is not a trichology expert, but at least is someone who knows a little bit more than you, okay, and can help you at least eliminate the possibilities of what it is not happening to you. Okay, again, if you can, then consult with a trichologist. I know a lot of people, they understand that our services are not covered by insurances, and of course it's out of pocket. I understand that for a lot of people, it is hard in that sense. But if you can, please go see a trichologist. But if you can, at least go to your hairstylist, go to your doctors, and start working with that. Start working with what what they know, and let's try to figure it out what's happening. All right, guys, anything you want to add before I start bringing the pictures?
It's you get it right perfectly.
All right, let's bring in the pictures. Let me just share the screen here a moment, guys. Oh, where is it? Oh, okay. Now it's not appearing here. All right, give me a second here. Oh, what's happening? I want to show you. I want to show you the pictures. Something is wrong here right now. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's see.
There.
This is live, guys. This is live. Okay, there you go. And now I hear. All right. Let's start with this one. This is what it's called frontal fibrosing alopecia. Now, please look at these two women that we have here in the pictures. Now, Carrie, can you describe for us what it is that we're seeing?
We're seeing what we call FFA, frontal fibrosing alopecia, and it's caused by commonly inflammation around the face line here. Yeah, it's quite common for women and men, anybody. But yeah, it's funny. I've been seeing it more and more often lately myself. So yeah.
We usually see this more commonly associated with women, and usually white women. But it can happen in men. It can happen in people, in black people. It can happen, in anyone, on any culture. But the thing is that is more commonly occurring in white women, particularly postmenopausal women. Mm-hmm. So, Liz, anything you want to add about frontal fibrosing alopecia?
No, it's a type, as it looks like, it's a type of scarring alopecia, and it's one of the hardest ones actually to bring back. And it usually happens to, it was thought to happen only in Caucasian postmenopausal, as you said, but now we are seeing it in African American and men also. And this is one of the, as I said, this is one of the most hard scarring to bring back to life. However, if the woman or the client caught it early, means the scalp, it's not calcified yet, means the scalp, it's still like under the scope, you still have some viable follicles to see, means that if you see under the scope as a trichologist some alive follicles, that they're not producing hair, but they're still there. Live follicles means they have still the sebaceous glands, the anchoring system, everything, but there is no hair coming out of it. Then you will know that you can bring it back to life. And this is what we call it, like non-calcified scarring alopecia. However, if it has been way too long in a way that you didn't come to your trichologist early enough, and there was not a lot of viable alive follicles, then it's really hard to bring back. And one of the most important things to treat with this kind of scarring alopecia is find, of course, the root cause, and usually it is hormonal imbalances in men or women that is causing this. And as Carrie is saying, it's a lot of inflammation happening in this, and it can be treated if it is caught early enough.
Important there. Another form of alopecia that we are also seeing that looks very similar is the traction alopecia, because traction alopecia is called differently. Unfortunately, with frontal fibrosing, we now understand that the immune system is involved, but with traction, it's all about pulling the hair so tight that it basically breaks, and you can pull it so tight that you can actually remove hair from that area, unplug it if we may, and because of that, we may damage the follicles and create this pattern in which we are seeing hair loss, particularly on the frontal section, and of course in all the edges of our scalp. And it's all because of the pulling and tension of the type of hairstyle that you are wearing. Another form of hair loss that we have here.
I want to say, too, not just from the ponytail, I also see women, particularly in the 80s, or people who over tease or don't tease properly, causing the same thing. So we typically see the traction alopecia around here, but we forget up here happens quite a bit. And especially when you're putting those hardcore aerosol hairsprays on that to boot and teasing it, causing, I see it quite common here as well, especially in women who predominantly tease their hair quite a bit, over excessive in the 80s. So
yes, definitely. Another form of hair loss that we want to consider here is alopecia areata. Now, Carrie, what can you tell us about alopecia areata?
It's an autoimmune response, especially when you're being triggered by something, food, stress. It comes in patches, and the patch you'll find is quite smooth, like very, very smooth. It actually feels quite nice. Very, very smooth, and it will come in patches, and it's unpredictable. You have patches anywhere. I've seen men in beards, in their mustache, back of the neck, just on one side of the head. I've seen everything, and it's usually a trigger from a stress response.
Yeah, definitely. Can I add one more thing, please? Here,
please go ahead.
So usually autoimmune, like as Carrie was saying, alopecia areata is an autoimmune response. It could be an autoimmune disease or could be an autoimmune response. There's two different things here. Some people have an autoimmune disease, which is, it shows in your blood test. It's called ANA test, which has become positive. That means you have an autoimmune disease. Then you have to figure out what kind of that autoimmune disease and address it so you can address the alopecia areata. However, I have been seeing lately a lot of autoimmune response to something. You do not have a disease. You don't have an autoimmune disease per se. But because of the amount of chemicals that we are bombarded with each day, especially with people who manipulate their hairs way too much, a lot of like dry shampoos. Dry shampoos has so much chemicals deposits where people don't wash them often. Or like the toxins around us, mold in our houses, like anything that is in your environment triggering your body to respond or attack itself. That does not mean you have the disease itself. It means that your body's barrel is so full, it cannot take it anymore. Any one small chemical that you get bombarded, your body will react so badly, it starts to attack its own hair follicles to give you this alopecia areata. So we don't want to go into conclusions that you have alopecia areata, you have autoimmune disease. No. It could be this or could be that.
Thank you for clarifying that. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Another form of hair loss is the alopecia totalis, which basically is a graduation from alopecia areata into alopecia totalis, which can go into alopecia universalis. Now, the thing about this type of alopecia, again, is the same base, is the autoimmune response, whether, like Bassam was mentioning, whether it's a response to something in the environment, or from something that we have been eating or ingesting, that something has come into our body. Now, the other thing is once it becomes so aggressive, it becomes very difficult to treat. And we have seen a lot of medications, new recently FDA approved medication for this type of alopecias. And although we have seen some results with those, unfortunately, those type of medications, they're still lagging behind. And that's one of the things that I'm seeing, unfortunately. I remember about 20 years ago when they started doing investigations with JAK inhibitors for alopecia areata and alopecia totalis and universalis. And we were talking back then about those type of medications. And we were so we were so amazed at the possibility that this type of condition could be eradicated, right? You remember that, Biz? Back in the days, when we talk about alopecia being eradicated by JAK inhibitors, but unfortunately, they're not the cure.
Because it's not hitting the root cause.
Unfortunately, that's the thing. It has helped a lot of people, but unfortunately, not everyone
will come back again.
Yeah. For the fortunate part of this type of alopecias, alopecia areata, alopecia totalis, and alopecia universalis, is that the follicles do not become cicatricial. That's the beauty of it. So at any given point, you can regain that hair back as long as your immune system cooperate. So if the immune response actually gets lower, you can actually get the hair back. But it's all about getting that immune response corrected. Once that happens, yes, you can get the hair back.
Yeah. And I want to add one more thing here. Alopecia totalis most of the time is actually heavy metals, is an overload of heavy metals.
The thing is, understanding where those heavy metals are coming from, so that you can actually, eradicate that from your system.
It's very hard.
Yes, it is very hard. Because again, unfortunately, some of the things that we do on daily basis are not accurately being tracked down, and it is very difficult. That's the problem. Another form of hair loss that we know a lot from is CCCA, central centrifugal cicatricial alopecia, and we have here a set of pictures from these ladies. And Biz, you have been working with scarring alopecias here.
Yes.
Walk us a little bit with this.
Yeah, I did work with a couple of scarring, central centrifugal scarring alopecia, and usually it happens to African American ladies. However, central centrifugal scarring alopecia is an umbrella. A lot of dermatologists and some trichologists as well, whenever they see it, they just claim as it is CCCA. Sometimes, so it is a big umbrella for scarring alopecia, especially in African American women. However, it can happen also to Caucasian and other races as well. So in this particular type, it's a form of a scarring alopecia that happens due to toxicity, due to overload of any toxins in your body. Usually I see it with a lot of my clients. Usually it's due to liver toxicity, and the liver toxicity happens because fatty liver and toxic liver is because of bad diet, toxins around them, chemicals, overuse of chemicals on the scalp, overuse of chemicals on the body as well, the body will be toxins and cannot take it anymore, then it will become as a form of this scarring alopecia. And at this point, I will say that again, if you get it really early on, it's like the frontal fibrosing alopecia. If you get it really on, go to a trichologist when you start seeing the openings or the balding patches. Before it become calcified, go to your trichologist and see if you can bring it back to life. You can bring these, even it is scarring alopecia, if it is not calcified yet, means the scalp itself is not hardened, you can 100% bring it back to life. And I did it twice already. First of all, you want to address the root cause, which is look where the toxicity is coming from. Address the liver health, address the gut health. Make sure, of course, the nutrient deficiencies are met and there's no any hormonal imbalances. But you can bring this back to life. Believe me, I did that twice in 12 weeks. If you address the liver.
Definitely. I like, this new work that you're doing. And for instance, our friend Nadia, she has been a pioneer working with this process again. It's amazing how we can bring back to life many of this type of scarring alopecia if we are able to treat it, in the early stages, which is amazing. Now, here is another type of alopecia that we're very well known, we're very well versed, is the androgenetic alopecia. Now, I posted here 4 pictures of 4 of my clients, and what I've been working with them to get their alopecia, androgenetic alopecia under control. As you can see, you may see great results, but still, it's not completely done. And the reason for it is very simple. We need to understand that while follicles become cicatricial, they are unable to produce new hair. And that is something that a lot of people need to wrap their heads around, that type of thought, because unfortunately, if a follicle becomes cicatricial, you're not going to be able to regain that hair. So you have to think about other possibilities along the way. Yes, you can improve the way it looks. For instance, if you look at the first gentleman on the right, on the left, on the top of the left, is see the first gentleman. He was actually one of my professors in college, and I worked with him, and we took about basically 2 years. And you see great results. I mean, you see the quality of the hair improve. You see a bit more hair on it, and that's amazing. But still, it's not enough. So someone like him is definitely a candidate for hair transplant to basically get that area better coverage. But the fact remains that treatment will only help you to keep what you have in this type of situations. And with treatment, you can improve the quality of the hair they still have. But that does not necessarily mean that you're going to be able to get all of your hair back. And I like to say this a lot because, unfortunately, there's a lot of misrepresentation and there's a lot of false expectations. So a lot of people, they expect to come to a trichologist and get a full head of hair back. And I wish I could do that for you every single time. And unfortunately, I can't. There are limitations to the work that we do. There are limitations to what we are able to achieve based upon when you decide to finally come to your senses and see a trichologist, because unfortunately, a lot of people, they wait a lot. And for instance, with people with, let's say, experiencing first signs of shedding, first signs of hair loss, they be like, I'm going to wait. I'm going to ride this out. And unfortunately, if you ride it too long, that hair is gone. And that's the problem with it. Yeah. Carrie, anything you want to add for our patients with alopecia, androgenetic alopecia?
Yeah.
Sorry that the title is in Spanish. Sorry. One of my seminars I do in Spanish.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I also, I always reiterate to them that stress affects also the progression of it. And I always make sure to let them realize that, stress, mental health also affects how progressive things can be and how your hair is produced and how it grows as well. So, I always talk to people about that. I have one client in particular who we're dealing with that right now, is the mental health aspect of it. And it's not just mental health with dealing with what you have, but also to preventative of progressing it. So it's definitely something to consider.
Now, here's the last group, our Telogen Effluvium people. You see a large group of people here, and you might see some of these cases and start thinking about other types of hair loss, particularly. Now, because of the way that these people reacted and the rapid response, that's one of the things that allows us to understand the nature of this type of hair loss. For instance, you see the first guy on the corner of the left. You see the entrance, the frontal section been diminished, and we start rapidly thinking, well, maybe he's androgenetic alopecia. Hey, newsflash, we did that recover in just less than 2 months. Why? Because it was not androgenetic alopecia. It was a telogen effluvium. Same thing with the second guy at the bottom, and the third one. All frontal sections, types of hair loss, and all related to maybe androgenetic pattern, but unfortunately, it's not androgenetic alopecia. It's just a telogen effluvium. And because of it, we were able to regain that hair. You see the lady here in the center. You see that patch. Kind of looks like a alopecia areata, but it was symmetrical. It was happening at the other side as well. And we did that recovery in only 3 months. So naturally, it was a telogen effluvium, not a alopecia areata. So again, if we see the picture of these males over here, see the hair loss at the top, we start to believe that androgenetic alopecia. No, it's not androgenetic alopecia. It's just telogen effluvium. We did that recovery within 30 days. So you do not get that recovery in 30 days with androgenetic alopecia, 100%. But it is happening because of telogen effluvium. And, the beauty about it is that you have to consider when you get your hair growth, right? Think of my fingers as hair. So when you have telogen effluvium, they go out, right? But as they start to emerge, they go back in, right? And the beauty of telogen effluvium is that the follicles, they're not dead. The hair is there. So we're just pushing it in and pushing out those beautiful new growth that they were there. We just improved the quality of that hair and rapidly recover. So that's the thing about this type of hair loss, and understanding, guys, that not all hair loss are the same. And we are about to run out of time. So I want to go into the final thoughts, the final 5 minutes, because it is important to understand, guys, that depending on the type of hair loss that you have is the type of treatment. So don't go around, poking the bear and just get the right results by going to the right specialist and get the right analysis so you can get the right information. With that, we can definitely improve your case, but you need to stop, doing online TikTok, YouTube, if you're following a great expert, that's great. But even if you're following a great expert, you have to consider that the things that they say, they go into general sense, not specific to a particular case. So it may help to someone, but not necessarily your case. So you need a consultation.
Right. And we all do virtual consultations. So just hit us up. Let us know how we can help you. And always follow us on the Hair Wire.
Yes. Harry.
Yeah.
You good?
Everything has been said.
Everything has been said. Yeah. And it's just so you guys know, too, when the new website's up, we do have everything columnized with reference pictures. So it'll be easy for you to figure out what's going on. And, when you get to the root cause of it, you can make dramatic changes as well. So, we're here for you. We are here for you.
That's the thing, guys. That's the beauty. We're here for you guys. We want to help you out with whatever it is that is experiencing on your scalp, on your hair. And, we have the technical knowledge, we have the skills, and we have the tools to help you out. So hit us. Write to us to the info@thehairwire.com. Go to our website, thehairwire.com. Always click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We are everywhere. We are on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. I don't know how many other places we are.
Yeah, and we're getting our systems going, so eventually we'll have more consistency. We're trying to be there. We are. Yeah.
We're here for you guys. So, guys, look for a professional. Get sorted out, understand what is that happening, and don't lose your mind in the process. So you don't lose it here.
Be cool.
Yeah, be cool about it. So God bless you all, guys. We'll see you next week. Till then, bye-bye.